Welcome to Agent Unstuck Calls, where we talk to real estate agents who are experiencing a challenge in their real estate career and they're looking for an alternative solution. Hi, I'm your host, Mike Cerrone with MastermindAgent.com, and I'm excited about this episode, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Hey, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate having you here. So tell me, how can I help you? What challenge are you experiencing in your real estate practice?
Well, Mike, that's an interesting question because I don't know that I don't feel stuck necessarily. I think there's always challenges. I've been in the business for 25 years, so there's always challenges. And I think if real estate wasn't hard, everybody would do it.
Right.
And we get paid to solve problems, quite frankly. And so if people don't have problems, then you don't get paid. And so I don't know that I'm necessarily feeling stuck. I know I have probably pretty similar challenges to a lot of people. I think if you were to ask me like what's on my mind right now, at this time, I'm kind of in a unique position where I've hit a lot of my financial goals. And I really, I've always had the goal to be job optional by the time I'm 50. And I'm almost at 50 right now. And I'm at that point where I don't have to work. And so I'm wondering, like, what's the next step for me? What should I be doing? I've always been a worker, so I guess maybe that's my stuck is, do I keep doing what I'm doing, or do I switch directions, or really, where's my passion? What's next?
Cool. Yeah. That's a good position to be in, and I appreciate you opening up. Give us a little more of your background to fill in some of the blanks. So you said 25 years in the business, you're reaching your goals. Give us some perspective. What kind of transaction volume did you do last year? Sales volume, GCI, those kind of things to give us perspective.
Yeah, sure. So we did about 40 million last year. But I say I'm the lead listing specialist. I have a small team. It's just 2 buyer specialists. So I run all the listings and our buyer specialists run all the on the buyer side. And my buyer specialists have been with me for a very long time. I have one who's been with me for 11 years and one who's been with me for 6 years. The other one who's been with me for 6 years. And so we're really a team. We have a really awesome dynamic there. A revolving door is never a good thing for me. It's not my personality to just constantly be revolving. And so my buyer specialists do, I feel like, very well financially. They make anywhere from 170 to 200,000 a year themselves. And then last year, our team netted just over $1 million, and I netted just over 600 last year.
Nice. That is fantastic. And do you have any administrative assistants? Is it just the 3 agents?
So we do have some part-time admin who fill in and do some things. But we actually last year at COVID time, we lost our admin. By lost, just meaning she just made a decision to stay home with her family, and we haven't replaced her yet.
Okay, so you guys are flying without an admin.
Yep.
Okay, good. So you're handling all your own transactions now. 40 million, you told us the gross. How many units is that in your area?
We do between 65 and about 80. On average. So last year, that's 73 units.
Very nice. And it sounds like you're comfortable at that level. You're taking home a nice net each month and over the course of the year. What is your desire? What's the next step for you? You mentioned you're curious about next step. You must have some idea in your head. What do you want to do?
Well, I think really my question is, do I shift directions a little bit, get out of production, and build kind of a brokerage model? But I'll be honest with you, that's not super appealing to me. Recruiting, I know there's a new company out there that's approached us a couple of times, and we've been an independent brokerage for almost 10 years now. And so not really sure we want to make that change. Or do I just, my youngest is in high school. I have 2.5 years before she graduates. So I just finish out these 2.5 years and then see what comes next. I don't know.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, you said something interesting. I think you said job optional. Is that what you said?
Yep.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I always wanted to get to a point where we had enough passive income to that I get to choose whether or not I want to work. And we're at that point now. And so I'm like, now I get to decide whether I want to work or not. But I am a worker, Mike. So like that's always been really important. It's been the last 25 years of my life. And so, or 25 years plus, really. So the question becomes, can I be happy if I don't work?
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go down a couple different paths here. So one path is you continue to work, and in that splits too. One is in real estate, one is doing something else. If you were to do something else, what's your desire? Do you have something that would be interesting to you or you're curious about?
Honestly, like I've asked myself that 100 times, right? So that's probably why I'm still in real estate, because nothing appeals to me more than what I'm doing.
And you're doing a great job. You're doing it at a high level. Now, did I understand right? You're running your own brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a small independent brokerage that you're running as a team. Is it just the three of you?
We have a couple of other agents who have their licenses with us, but more just because they know me than
They're kind of standing on their own
else.
independent.
Yep.
Right. So you're running your own show. It's running nice and smoothly. Everything's going great. You're making good dough. You've saved. Sounds like you've saved well. You've invested well, and you have enough passive income now that you don't need to do anything else as far as living, eating, drinking, shelter, right?
Yeah.
Everything's covered. Okay, good. Well, let's now expand this a little further. Outside of real estate, what are your passions? What do you like to do?
So I love to travel, and that's probably what the next step would be, other than I have a sophomore in high school. So traveling is 2.5 years away, right? So
like a big travel, like leaving somewhere for 6 months or something beyond just a weekend getaway or a couple weeks at a time, right? Is that what you mean?
Yep.
Okay. If you were to, let me ask you a different question first. How often do you travel now?
About every 6 to 8 weeks, we go and do something. And then 5 or 6 times a year, we're going. So we usually go over UEA, which is kind of the education school break, right? We go someplace over Christmas. I go someplace in the spring. And then we usually go a couple of places over the summer.
Where's your favorite place to go?
Every place I go is fun.
You're an explorer.
But it has to have a beach and it has to have the sun. So I guess I should say.
All right, so you're not going to Antarctica, you're not going to Alaska, you're going somewhere hot.
I'm not salmon fishing in Alaska.
I have a cousin that loves to do that, so there are people that enjoy that.
Yeah, we have a couple
you prefer
clients.
to go by a beach? Is that what you're saying, or what do you mean?
Yep. Yeah. So I scuba dive. We kiteboard. My husband and I kiteboard. Give me a beach and a good book and a sunny day and an ocean, and I'm a happy gal.
Right. Now, have you ever done it for a long time though, beyond say a week or two? What's the longest you've been at a beach?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Mike, that's some of the question, right? So 12 to 14 days is kind of the limit. It's tough to leave a real estate business for any, longer period than that.
Do you get bored by the end of the 12 to 14 days? No, you're
Never
fine.
Never have been bored yet.
Okay. No. Well, this is good. This is an interesting challenge and a good one, a really good one.
Yeah. I'm glad that you think so, Mike, because I'm really intrigued by. I've read all of your Unstuck calls, and I love them, right? And I'm like, when you called me, I'm like, I'm going to probably be a bit of a challenge for him.
They're all a challenge in a different way, so this is great.
Sure.
And I like that your attitude and what you're doing. It sounds like you really love real estate. And your passion is there. And the big thing I've met with people that are older than you, you're I'm assuming under 50 because you said you're going towards 50, right?
Yeah, I'll be 50 this next year.
Say again?
I said I'll be 50 this next year.
Oh, congratulations. So. You're coming up on it. Good. So people who get to be 65, 70 or whatever, a lot of people, they'll hit this, they'll think they have to retire, they'll stop working. And then sadly, a lot of them will just die within a year. I mean, they don't have any drive or passion anymore, or they lose it, or they just kind of fall out. And we certainly wouldn't want that to happen to you, right? I mean, that's something on the other side of the equation you may not have looked at if you stop and slow down too much. So you keep telling me you're a worker. And so we've either got to continue to do what you're doing or replace it with some other kind of work that you're very passionate about. But I haven't heard a passion that's driving you on the other side. And you keep telling me no, right? You've thought about this and there's no passion there as far as another endeavor, correct?
Right.
So then maybe you want to figure out how to, and you've mentioned that in the industry, you don't want to expand your brokerage and say, bring in 100 agents and teach them what you're doing, correct?
Right.
Have you considered training in a different way, either mentoring or training where you're helping others, but you're not doing it as the broker? So you're either doing it as an educational method where you're out there reaching and educating people about your methods and how you've done it so far and get to this point, because I'm sure a lot of people would like to know how you do that. That might be an avenue, or even taking the opposite end, that's kind of going out to many. The opposite end would be to take one person in under your wing and really mentor them and get them up and running, as a challenge to see if you could do that. Are any of your children interested in the industry or the business?
I wish. They all tell me they'd never do real estate after watching me do it for 25 years.
Right. They ran away. Yeah, they got smart. So,
Yeah.
But that's good. See, because that would be an easy one. Do you have nieces or nephews or somebody who you'd want to bring in and kind of tuck in and mentor? Does that have any appeal to you? Which of these things have kind of a spark?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I probably need to think more about that. I mean, I've looked at doing some coaching because and what I really like that. I've looked at Dave Ramsey's financial coaching because I'm a big believer in having a financial plan and setting goals for yourself and being disciplined and sticking to the plan. So there's a lot of that kind of things that I've sort of turned over in my mind, but no, nothing like stands out, Mike. I mean, those are all such great suggestions. What would you say would be some good questions to ask myself as I'm analyzing that, right?
Well, I'm trying.
Yeah.
Let me ask a different course, because I think people would be curious about this either way. You said that you've built up this cash flow that allows you to be passive income coming in. What area did you do that in? How did you do that?
So just real estate. It's actually interesting I've always been a pretty dedicated saver, just so you know. And we were putting money away in our 401ks and IRAs and things like that. And then I stopped one day and just went, I wonder if we should diversify. And I know real estate, so maybe we should diversify. As odd as that sounds, right? I started watching people make some money in real estate and helping investors. And so we just started small. We bought one property, paid it off, bought another property, paid it off, bought another property, paid it off. And that's actually, if I have one regret, it's that I've been pretty dedicated to no debt, which sounds ironic, right? But I think it's held us back in terms of just having more, because the market shifted like it did, right? But hindsight's always 2020. But we have six properties now, and we rent those. And so we built up a passive stream that way, and then at the same time continue to invest in 401ks and IRAs and stuff, just so that we would have a secondary cushion. But we're young enough, me being my husband and I, young enough that we're not planning on even touching that source of retirement income for about 15 years.
Sure. Now, this is fantastic. So are you going to purchase more rental properties then?
Well, we've been looking, yeah, I mean, if something comes up, I will be honest with you, they're a lot of work. We manage them ourselves. I always tell people, being a landlord's not for wimps. So, so we've flipped a couple properties this year, just found some small good opportunities that way, but haven't really pulled the trigger on a rental property for about a year and a half.
Okay, but you've basically been buy and hold. You've been buying them, renting them out, paying them off, using the cash flow. Are the 6 free and clear now?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Congratulations. And so that's pure cash flow coming out minus expenses that you're going to have, taxes and everything else, management, bad tenants, etc. But you're probably, I don't know what you're netting, probably 50 to 60% off of the gross rent. So that's a nice juicy cash flow coming in. That's fantastic. Do you have any passion or desire to own a certain number of rentals?
No, it's always been about income, right? So not a certain number, but just a certain.
Have you thought about a different kind of property? For instance, I mentioned to you before, I have an aunt who lives in your area. At one point, she decided she wanted to buy a 300-unit apartment building, and she just did it, right?
Wow.
Just swung it. And so
I need to meet your aunt, Mike.
yeah, she's an incredible person. And so, but you have desires to do something like that, a bigger step in the real estate field as far as investment.
That's a great suggestion. I haven't really thought about that, but something where you just have an on-site manager or something like that.
You would not want to manage the 300 units by yourself. You would definitely hire it out at that point. And that would create a whole nother level of challenge for you, because you're running a very small group where you're self-managing the whole time, right? You're self-managing your properties, you're self-managing your business, you're self-managing your practice. So it would definitely require some different skills in that management side and that oversight side of your abilities. That might be a challenge that you might be interested in. The downside there is you're probably going to be a little more risky. You're going to have to take on more leverage, and you sound very risk averse to debt.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have to explore that, right? Maybe I don't start with the 300 units.
Maybe 250. Right?
But not a bad suggestion, right? Like that's interesting to me.
It's interesting that it sparked you, right? So there are challenges out there that can spark you and get you interested and curious and start looking down that path. And I think that's something you want to do. In the meantime, I think from what I've heard is that you should continue to do what you're doing. You're doing it at a high level. You're really generating a lot of great cash flow. You would not want to end that and then a year from now go, man, I should have kept that going. So
you just totally hit the nail right on the head with probably my biggest concern, with just being like, what if I'd say, oh, I want to quit, and then in a year I'm like, that was a mistake, right?
You could rebuild it, but it would be harder. You don't want to rush into that kind of a decision. You are correct. In my opinion, you've got a great machine running right now. It's centered on you, which is a downside, because if you got hit by a bus or got sick or something, then the business is gone. However, it's generating so much great cash. You've done the right thing where you've taken that cash and you've redirected that into other things that will generate passive income in the long term. That's the same concept as building up a brokerage and selling it. You're just doing it an alternative way to build up income stream and assets. Are there any other, and I think we already hit this, but are there any other kind of businesses that you would like to be in other than real estate?
Nothing that really no. I mean, nothing that just says, oh my goodness, if I could do anything, I would do this. Does that make sense?
It does.
I do, for the most part, love what I do. I enjoy helping people. I like helping people build wealth. That's such a passion of mine. I think the foundation of Americans' whole wealth system is built on private ownership of property and companies, which I absolutely love. And I love being a part of that, right? I'm a big believer in that. So absolutely have looked at, what I want to do this, what I want to do this. And no, I don't really have a desire to own a cookie store or run a restaurant or, something that a lot of people really speaks to their heart. To me, not so much.
You're in the right place. You are very fortunate. You're in the right place. You're doing the right thing. You love doing what you're doing. You're questioning it because you've been doing it for so long, but you really are rocking it. I don't hear other passions. You may just try to decide to do this. Either continue to do what you're doing and ramp up the GCI. Maybe a goal would be you hit 1 million, maybe it's to hit 2 million or to net 1 million or something interesting, some kind of challenge. With that, maybe driving that maybe to purchase more rental properties. Maybe instead of 6, you want 12, an even dozen or something, right? We didn't talk about whatever your net is coming out of there, but the net cash flow that's coming out of there, to double it or triple it or some kind of number, some kind of achievement goal like that. The other thing that you mentioned that was interesting to me, you said, is help people build wealth. Again, that might be another really cool project that you might want to add to your plate, kind of as a side dish to what you're doing today. How many children do you have?
3. Well,
Right.
4 now, because my son married a new daughter for me.
Right. So you got 3 plus
Yeah.
1. Yeah. And so you got 3 families, right? 3 new arriving, almost to be arriving soon, right? A junior, sophomore or junior in high school and coming out. And the others, are they in college? Are they on their own?
Yeah, my son is married and on his own. He's in college still, and then my daughter is in college and on her own.
Awesome. So they're in college. They'll be popping out soon. I've got kids in the same spot, right? And they're popping out soon, and they'll be on their own, and they'll be looking to stake their way into the world. And I bring that up because you want to talk with them, of course, but you may have the dream or ambition to help them establish these wealth patterns that you have. What a great mentor to have. Now, again, some kids want to listen to their parents, some don't, but you should certainly look into that, because if you were going to help somebody become a millionaire, multimillionaire, whatever, wouldn't you want to do it with your kids first?
Yeah.
And what a fun project, right? And how grateful would they be, and how amazing would it be for your legacy and theirs and your grandkids that will come and so forth, that you're helping them get established on these paths. What I'm trying to dig into is these might be passions or something deeper than the money itself. It's creating something bigger than that, something that will last longer than you. And that could drive you more than, as you say, starting a cookie store or something. That's not your passion. Your passion is making money, doing real estate. Maybe you teach your kids how to invest. Have you invested in any properties with them? You got 2 adults that are legal age. Have you taken them and made them co-owner on a property?
Yeah, so my son, actually, right before he got married, we bought a property, helped him buy a property that we rehabbed together during COVID. And then he's moved into it, and he definitely gets the vision of that. So he'll have his 2-year markup in March, and he's already talking about selling it and buying something that he can rent out the basement on, and he can live. You know what I mean? So that's fun. It's fun that you would bring that up, because I was like, oh, I've done that, right?
And you're smiling, right? Is that something that is a passion for you? You want to dig into that. It's a commitment. And as you know, in business, things go right and wrong. So you got to figure that out as part of the equation. But man, if somebody was out there listening to us, I'm imagining somebody listening to us and they're going, geez, if I had a parent that knew how to build real estate, build wealth, I would want them to tell me how to do that. I would want to learn from them, because they care about me more than anybody else. They'll make sure that I do it right. There's no better mentor, right? Other than being too close, I guess, at one point. But anyway, I think that might be something you should look at. Keep doing what you're doing. Maybe increase the goals as far as what you're doing production-wise. Maybe not. Maybe you've hit a plateau you're very happy with. You've got a great machine going. Maybe invest in more rentals for yourself. Build that. Maybe double it. Double is always fun to think of. Double the number of properties, double the number of net, etc. And as a third wing, maybe you're going to bring your kids in and invest with them. And when I say invest with them, you certainly can help them buy their first property that they own. But you and I both know that's not an investment. The investment is the second property they own at the same time. So help them buy a duplex. In fact, here's a concept. Help them buy a duplex or a fourplex, right? They live in one end, they rent out the others, they learn what the business is all about, and then they can do something with this rental property.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
just
good
an
thinking.
idea. Cool. Well, I hope has this been helpful to you?
It's been great, Mike. I appreciate all of that suggestion. Some of this we're rehashing some of what I've thought about, but hearing it in, from somebody else and kind of thinking about that is just so powerful. It's very, very, very helpful. So I appreciate your time.
Fantastic. Well, as you know, I like to give everyone an assignment. So I'm going to give you an assignment. Do you have something to write with?
Yep, I've been taking notes. I don't know if you've noticed that.
And so here's the assignment. The assignment is, and it's one that you've already been working on, but I want you to write down which of the ideas we talked about sparks you the most, and the first 3 steps you would take if you went down that path. So of the 3 things that we talked about, i.e. Build your current business bigger, build your rental portfolio bigger, or start to mentor your children in the investment arena, of those 3 options, pick one and then write the first 3 steps that you would take to make that happen or to go down that path. You don't have to commit to them at this point, but at least start down the path of creating a plan and see how it feels inside. What's your emotions feel and your logic and combined, and does it sound like the right path to you? When do you think you could get that assignment done?
Why don't you give me a deadline?
Oh no, you get to pick. I cannot pick for you. You must tell me a date and a time, and then you have to pick it.
Let's do October 5th.
Excellent. October 5th at what time?
Are we talking, or are
this is just the deadline for you to get the assignment
for
through.
me? So let's do 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Excellent. So on October 5th at 10 a.m., you're going to send me an email and you're going to say, Mike, I decided on this one, and here are my first 3 steps. That's it. That's the assignment. It is. It's the assignment. It's clear. You have you have a due date, and then you have the accountability of sending me the email. And boom, there you are. You're off to the races.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining me.
You bet. Talk to you later.
Well, that's it for Agent Unstuck calls. It was a lot of fun today. If you liked what you heard, go ahead and click that like button. And if you want to hear more calls like this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you know exactly when the next episode is coming out. And if you have any thoughts about what you heard today and you'd like to relay that to everyone else, go ahead and put that down in the comment section so people can talk about it. And finally, if you're stuck in your real estate career, you're a veteran who's having some challenges and you can't figure out how to get to that next step, go ahead and schedule yourself an Unstuck call. Just go to agentunstuckcall.com. That's agentunstuckcall.com, and let's get you scheduled in. You'll go in there, you'll fill out a quick survey, you'll find a time that works for you, and we'll get on a call just like this and see if we can't get you some answers. All right, this has been a lot of fun. I'm your host, Mike Cerrone with Mastermind Agent. And again, thank you for joining us on Agent Unstuck Calls. Take care.